Hey man, I'll keep it going if you guys want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've been reading this, looking forward to it.
dope. Yeah, man, awesome. So this one I've posted up before, so maybe you've come across it, but I decided, hey, why not kind of redo it, bring it up again. It's one of my favorites in the book that I wrote. So it's called Control-Alt-Delete.
Altercation between destinations, down an assembly line of categorization, dodging mob-like battles of contrary ideas that are prefabricated, liberal or conservative, Democrat or Republican. Like swine at the trove, we are fed talking points. We are sculpted to have our intelligence insulted. Opposition breeds alternative positions, a measure without permission. Solutions serve without a question from networks with ill intentions. Chess played in dual dimension leaves your opponent in full suspension. Control-Alt-Delete is the formula of negotiation. Alternatives are the beginning of the empirical demise. No need for disguise. Our decisions are made in reply of the mainstream collide with those who reside at the top tier. Control-Alt-Delete. This is the anthem of their defeat. Alternative media, alternative social networks, alternative currency, alternative news, alternative views, alternative energy. Control-Alt-Delete. This is a receipt. Vote where your actions make no consents. Like the Montgomery boycott, alternatives are the vehicles of accountability. Verbal indication makes no invitation to social reform. This is a shift, where the majority makes the commands. Control-Alt-Delete.
Damn, loved it, dude. It's great, man. That so interesting to hear your perspective, and very it's interesting because we're all kind of in this we all have our own echo chamber configurations, I guess, of what you pay attention to and, what media, what information you're being fed. And it's just, we don't often talk about it really of, what your perspective is. And it's just really great to hear your perspective on that for sure. And like, it reflects mine, that's the cool thing is, like it's a lot of the same feelings, it's a lot of the same insights that I feel like I've realized over the past, just over the 20s, living in this world.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you put it right. We are in our little like echo chambers of information, and we get caught up in our own little bubble and whatnot. You know what I mean? But there is also like that kind of paradigm, where it kind of all fits. There's those stages where you feel like you're in a bubble, and then there's those other like there's the more, what's the word? The more organic or more wise stages where you have like a more like intersectional paradigm understanding of things. You know what I'm saying? Where you're much more of a free thinker than, of kind of in a bubble. So your bubble isn't enclosed to just you. It's kind of like open to everything else. So that's kind of what I try to bring, into the pieces I write. I'm not trying to necessarily take on one certain perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And I see that the poem as an expression of that open-mindedness. And I think poetry is particularly well suited for open-mindedness and inducing this kind of open-minded attitude that I think that we do need to have, because open-mindedness is where creativity comes from. You can't turn that off. And Control-Alt-Delete, it's like it's interesting because it's two things. You want to reset. You want to reset the system of saying, man, this isn't working. we gotta, we just gotta hit Control Alt Delete. We gotta reset the operating system.
Right, right.
And the operating system is very resistant.
Well, and it's not just
like that.
It's not just a restart too. It's like, Control Alt Delete is like you're screwed. You gotta, you have no other choice.
Wow, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
When the program is destroying your operating system, you have to control it.
Every time I've gone to Control Alt Delete, I'm like, my shit's frozen or broken or something's wrong.
Yeah, you're in the shits.
Right.
No, but when I first back in high school, I was took computer science, and the thing that I took out of computer science wasn't any of the code that I learned or any of that, but it was just like the concepts of programming, of algorithms, of different things that you do when you're troubleshooting, and they're just the major like concepts of it. And like later on in my life, like I saw those as words in which to communicate more effectively what I wanted to say in a more clear-cut manner. Like even though this is like, a command that everybody's kind of familiar with because everybody uses computers, but it's like,
right.
This thing of all this programming of media, of all this kind of stuff, and you gotta like Control Alt Delete that, because this is something too. I in my framing, I was more looking at it from the inner perspective. I have this poem where it's called Unconscious Tape Loops, and there's just like these things that like loop back in your head. Yeah, I done 2 videos on it. And there's a bigger poem of it, but it's kind of like similar in that respect. Is like you see how these things feed into each other. How you get influence and you're not even aware of it, and there's these voices that are telling you different things or even limiting your perspective on things, and you got to kind of engage them and identify them so you can Control Alt Delete them. So you could, and I think this is the power of poetry, and my phrase that I like to use in this thing that I think of is that the Logos, which is like this fictional AI, overall arching AI system that I envision in my head, it can't understand Blake. So it can't understand, because poetry is not binary. Poetry is this thing that we use to kind of cut towards a deeper truth. This more, like have these things to express, but we can't like directly say it, or we don't even know, and we're constantly messing around with these code, which are words, and trying to find out, a way to put to correct some systems, or even our thoughts or the flow of data better, or try to we transfer these things that normally we can't say. And for me, my own process is just poetry is that, like, I never even really considered myself a poet until like 3 years ago. But it was just the way I processed information, the way I processed the world is just like, oh my God, I need to like write this shit down because like I don't know what else to do.
Word, man. Word up.
And then that meta thing is that's my Control Alt Delete of like fuck. You know what I mean? Like when I writing the poem. Yeah.
See, I'm sure Rose is happy with that kind of explanation.
Yeah.
When she asked in the beginning, she's like, what is the metadome? You know what I mean? It kind of explains it. Like, it's the equivalent of Control Alt Delete. And what's kind of cool about that is like I have a few in my next work, in my next project, I have a poem that I wrote that's called Control V. So I'm kind of keeping that same programming style that you were talking about, Satori, and kind of like honing that energy, and kind of speaking the language of the AI in a sense, like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool.
Control Z is like my absolute favorite command.
What's that one again?
Control Z.
It's
oops. It's the oops button.
Yeah.
I love the oops button. I do the oops button all the time.
Me, dude. I'm about to write a Control Z.
My little one comes up and slams my keyboard, and I just hit that oops button until it's all back.
Oh shit.
Man,
Yup.
don't you wish you could Control Z in life? Like, wouldn't that be great? Like, anytime you
No,
say oops, it literally does that.
I gotta look it
However
up. Hold on.
catastrophic they are.
Yeah, that's funny.
Hold on. I'm actually not that familiar with Control Z. So I'm like, oh, so it's just the undo.
It's the undo.
Yeah.
It's the undo. Okay. So that's a whole nother level of poetry then.
Right?
That's some
I could
Thanos
write
shit
that
right
one.
there.
That is some Thanos shit.
That's some Avengers shit.
That's hilarious.
Oh shit.
Control Z your life.
Like, I'm gonna have to hire Thanos to read that shit. That's crazy.